Welcome back. I'm Karen, founder and managing director of Orchid Leadership Coaching and Consultancy Limited, encouraging you to embrace the leader within. Whether you are a CEO leading a company, an executive leading a team of innovators, an emerging entrepreneur, or a working or stay-at-home parent leading the family and home, now's the time to embrace the future. Empower the new you. Welcome to episode 8 of Enlightened Leadership Coaching Snippets from our season of podcasts linking to leadership. In this episode, we'll be deep diving into distributed leadership, building an environment and culture of trust and shared ownership. If you missed our earlier episodes, don't worry. They're available to download on numerous major podcast platforms. Do ensure to subscribe or follow so not to miss out on future upcoming episodes. Getting back to today's episode, focusing on distributed leadership, building an environment and culture of trust and shared ownership. How would our work and home environments feel if there were an agreed level of autonomy? Yes, I said autonomy, even among our children. If everyone had a legitimate voice that was heard, where innovation and creativity were encouraged, where everyone could lead and be regarded as a leader within their scope of control, where everyone is empowered to contribute to the big picture goals and vision. Your response may be to state that this is some utopia statement, or merely an ideal that is unrealistic, particularly to achieve in real-world situations. But what if it were completely achievable? What if you could then create a fully functioning foundation for high output, high morale, and co-created strategies that produced unquestionable success? Wouldn't that be a persuasive argument to listen further? Ownership and trust promotes commitment, performance, and retention. In essence, a high ROI, return on investment. Easy to understand in corporate terms, but the same can also be said regarding our families, where, if we let go of the reins a little, resisting the natural urge to micromanage or dictate the playing field, we get a natural and willing buy-in, a happy contributor to the big picture, and someone who welcomes being offered a seat at the big table. Remember what it was like as a growing teenager, when at a family event, moving from the children's table to the adult table at meal gatherings. How did that invitation make you feel internally? That feeling perhaps of acceptance, some increased degree of equality, finally being heard by those you wish to hear your voice. A feeling of being valued, of self-worth, and of acknowledgement as an individual and what you have to contribute as a valued and integral part of the whole. Leadership is no longer thought of as a lonely journey, but a team endeavour, and the most successful leaders seek to build leadership capacity within those around them. As effective leaders, we should be prepared not only to develop ourselves and our own careers, but also to ensure we create next generation leaders in our succession planning and talent management. As within our workplace, so it is within our home environment, where we build capacity in our children to become independent contributors who have a valid share and stake in contributing to decision-making as it pertains to them and their actions. As stated by Tom Peters, great leaders do not create followers. They create more leaders. The key essential ingredient to achieve this is distributed leadership. building confidence to go beyond that which is expected, advocating a shared decision-making process within a culture of co-created accountability and ownership. Let's dig a little deeper into distributed leadership in terms of what it is, what it isn't, and how best to achieve it in our leadership journey. Firstly, distributed leadership is not delegating. Delegation is about getting others to complete your work for you, and this is not a healthy culture to develop in leadership. If leaders consistently delegate, work just gets pushed down the chain of command, causing people who have got less time and earn less money to complete the work. This can result in a disconnect and resentment of leadership. Distributed leadership is, however, about moving towards being agile, shifting leadership, skills and capacity to a place of relevance and agility to create group success. Ultimately, distributed leadership is about giving leaders ownership by empowering them to create leadership capacity in others, and then creating earned autonomy to lead and to collaboratively drive forward strategies that contribute towards the bigger vision and goal. Leadership becomes disassociated from designated roles, and instead, the actions of individuals at all levels of responsibility are recognized as integral to the success and functionality of the group, team, family, or company. The overriding purpose of distributed leadership is to increase leadership capacity within an organization or across members within the family, so that it can improve and grow in an authentic manner and become more effective, agile, and relevant, as a result of leaders within it collectively pulling in the same direction, guided by the same vision and values towards a common set of goals. One key element of effective distributed leadership is a certain level of earned and agreed autonomy, whilst providing support with the necessary resources to create the capacity to be successful. With associated accountability for actions and outcomes. Leadership becomes more about co-construction, involving opportunities to surface and mediate perceptions, values, beliefs, information and assumptions through continuous conversations. Distributed leadership takes the idea of a leader as a single personal position and instead makes it a desired behavior for all in the organization, with the expectation to drive success by one's own innovative contributions to the team. This is where autonomy and shared accountability play a crucial role in creating the relative freedom to make decisions and experiment with new processes without needing the direct consent of a superior. The idea being that those closest to the problem can solve it, because they are motivated to bring success to their own area of expertise. However, it's not as simple as just giving someone a little more freedom and checking on them less. This alone would be a recipe for setting someone up for failure. There needs to be, as mentioned earlier, a creation for the capacity for success. For aspiring leaders to contribute, they must have the necessary means to create, such as through funds, budgets, materials, additional team members, which enables them the tools to drive momentum towards shared success. One of the main differences between traditional and distributed leadership is the idea of constantly growing new leaders, and in turn letting go and sharing the burden. Mentoring up-and-coming identified aspiring leaders is essential to growth and organizational success, or family unity, harmony, and effective functioning. An embedded coaching culture across all levels is core to support growth development and to enable new or aspiring leaders whom you've entrusted new responsibilities to feel empowered and comfortable in their new leadership skin. To maintain autonomy and accountability in distributed leadership, leaders and aspiring leaders need to be enabled to critique their own processes, to reflect, discuss, problem solve through co-created solutions, and receive as well as contribute to a two-way, continuous feedback process. So, we incorporate the practice of distributed leadership with all that it entails into our leadership tool belt. What are the returns? What do we gain? Imagine a work and home environment where all stakeholders and family members demonstrate cross-functional communications and engagement, where there is a high EQ, an emotional as well as social awareness, to successfully perceive and engage with challenges as positive opportunities, and where stress and well-being is managed holistically. You get an increased sense of trust, of ethical values, of shared vision, buy-in, and collective ownership and accountability. Shared values, shared success, and co-created solution-based decision-making. There are opportunities to nurture self-worth and to feel valued as equal serving contributors, where the capacity for lifelong learning and growth is generated and sustained through coaching and mentoring, where change agents are creating innovation, creativity, measurable risk-taking, and transformation. A challenge I lay before you. Take measure of your leadership style. To what degree do you currently apply distributed leadership attributes to your leadership practice? Are you identifying and creating new leaders? If so, how are you nurturing their growth? Are you mentoring, coaching, enabling some level of autonomy? If you're drawing a blank to any of these, what would you like to do as a next step? This week, make that intentional decision to let go of the reins a little. Not just at work, but perhaps, where appropriate, at home. Perhaps contemplate in which areas to surrender a little autonomy to your children, with responsibilities and accountability, of course. Figure out how to devise a two-way feedback process, not just with team members at work, but within the family. Perhaps through family meetings at the kitchen table, where everyone has a voice and is acknowledged, or through continuous nurturing conversations, rather than the accustomed checking up rituals. Visualize the kind of leader you want to be in your journey. Not by creating more followers, but by creating impactful leaders in an environment and culture of trust and shared ownership. Feel free to share some of your follow-up actions with me on any of my social media platforms, or alternatively, share a comment with me right here after listening. I look forward to our next podcast session, where we will be deep diving into conflict resolution, conflict to co-construction. Tune in next time and get ready to take action after the session. Until then, please remember, if this podcast episode added value to your day or evening, download it. Share it with your colleagues and friends. And of course, ensure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. And remember, embrace the future, empower the new you, awaken the leader within, and let's take back control of our aspirations. Thanks for listening.